Can you guys hear us okay?
We can. Yep.
Right. Another quorum.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Can you guys see the agenda and everything on the screen?
We can.
All right, perfect. Okay. Ready when you are.
Okay. We will now call the May 16th Planning Commission meeting for the town of Hideout to order. Roll call is Glynis. Here. Joel. Here. Donna.
Here.
Peter.
We're on mute.
Chase.
Here.
Rachel is
Sorry, I'm here.
traveling and
Peter.
Tony is here. Peter answered here.
Peter answered yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Next issue will be that this remote meeting is being held live and remotely for anyone who wants to attend. Okay, next is the approval of the meeting minutes from March 21st. Has everybody had a chance to go through them? And does anybody have any corrections they would like to see made?
I move that we approve the minutes of, what's the date?
March 21st.
March 21st.
I second that. I second that.
Thank you. And before we take a vote, Peter, just so you know, you'll be voting in Rachel's place tonight.
Okay.
All right, Joel? Yes. Glynis?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Chase?
Yes.
And Tony's yes. Therefore, we'll accept the meetings. The meeting minutes, I should say. Thank you. Okay, next up, item number 4, public hearings. Discussion and possible recommendation to the Hideout Town Council of an amendment to lot R3 of Hideout Canyon Phase 8 to relocate the 20-foot wide limited common area for the driveway. Thomas, do you want to take us through that? What it entails?
Sure. I'll walk you guys through this one.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Thomas, because I believe that one of our newest planning commissioner is the owner of the
Yes.
lot.
And
So,
he is not a voting member tonight, Polly.
okay,
for the-
so no matter what, he should recuse himself. So I would just ask that he not speak he can speak as an applicant, but that he only be present as an applicant for this portion of the meeting.
Do you understand that, Chase?
I do.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
None.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Polly. Okay,
right.
Thomas.
All right. Thank you. So this is an application for an amendment to the subdivision for Hideout Canyon Phase 8. This is in particular relative to Lot R3, which is a condo lot situated in that subdivision. We actually first heard this request back in November of 2021. At that time, the Planning Commission recommended the applicant try to coordinate some other potential subdivision amendments that would make this an ideal subdivision amendment in terms of getting everything done at one time. One of those requests, primarily from the engineer, was that the reflection lane, which is almost across the street from lot R3, the subject lot in question, currently goes through lot 6. It didn't follow a platted right of way. And so the request was to see if they could coordinate with the owner and see if they could make that a part of a more holistic subdivision amendment. They were not able to get the owner of the property, which is directly across the street, to coordinate with them. And so they're basically bringing this back just as a subdivision amendment for the driveway, which is limited common space to move it. And so if you can actually scroll down a little bit, is Alicia, are you running this? I forget who's running.
Yeah, this time,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. If you don't mind scrolling down just a little bit more, you can see this is to try to give you a little bit of context. This was prepared by the applicant's engineer contractor, and you can see that the house in question, the lot in question, I should say, is lot R3 right there where your hand is. You can also see that right in the middle of the house toward Reflection Ridge, there's kind of a shaded outline. That middle driveway is where the limited common space is currently located for the driveway. The applicant,
Hey, Thomas, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you have the plat that shows just the driveway?
we could move down to that. Yes. Yeah. So this
Because-
plat that you're looking at is for context only. We are not looking at making any changes to Reflection Lane. We received some emails from Scott Dubois, the attorney that represents Mustang. Those were forwarded to you all earlier today. They do not want to make any changes, any amendments to the subdivision relative to lots 5, 6, or 7, or that Reflection Lane. So that is off the table. This is only for context to help you understand where the driveway is in relation to the lane. But Alicia, if you don't mind scrolling down a little bit further, I've got a zoomed in. There you go. That's a little better, I think. You can see the driveway area is currently in the middle, right there where her hand is, moving up to right there. That's where the current limited common space is. The proposal is to move it to the left, to the north a little bit. It would be the same width, 20 feet, and it would go from Reflection Ridge right of way up to the driveway and connect to the garage. So it is simply moving it. It's not widening it or expanding it in any way.
So Thomas, sorry, Peter, is the issue that the current driveway on lot R3 is in common area? I'm trying to follow why this change needs to
That's
get
correct.
made.
It's in common area. It needs to be in limited common area. So
the current driveway is encroaching on common area, which is in contravention to the plat, right?
that's correct.
Okay.
So
So this is about moving that so that the driveway as built would stay in place, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Again, we heard from the attorney today, there are no other proposed amendments for the subdivision relative to the other areas. We also heard from Community Preservation Association. Alicia, if you don't mind scrolling, let's see, up, I think now. Or no, down a little bit. Yeah, keep going down. I'm sorry. If you can go to some of the issues and maybe zoom out just a little. There you go. So just a couple of noteworthy items. Placing the driveway area, limited common space on either side of the house is probably more typical. Typically houses built in Hideout have a garage on either, the right or the left side of the facade rather than in the front. It also moves, as I showed you in that context graphic up front, it does move the driveway just a little bit further north and away from the intersection with Reflection Lane. I think it makes complete sense. It is a logical subdivision amendment. There are a few issues or conditions that we would recommend be attached should you wish to make a recommendation.
Thomas, I have another question, Peter. So what impact does this have on any of the surrounding lots?
It doesn't have any impact. Actually, this is the first house built in that area. The lots on the other side of the road are really single family lots. They can pretty much put their driveways where it's appropriate. So I think there are 6 condo lots on
Right.
side.
Those are all the R lots on that side of the road, right?
That's correct. And so they all have limited common area for their driveways. They may want to come in and move some of theirs, especially where they're centered, or we could work with the Community Preservation Association or others to maybe come in with a more holistic approach, maybe where they wouldn't have to come in and do individual subdivision amendments for each driveway. That might be more convenient for them. So that might be something to look for down the line. But this is the first one, so we wanted to make sure that we got the limited common in the correct space.
So no neighboring lot is impacted. The sort of context of the neighborhood or anything isn't impacted. So
No.
this is really more form over substance, right?
This really is more perfunctory than anything. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
But-
Thank you.
Right, because you want to have the driveways reflect what's actually on the ground. And I would note, and I'm sure, and also just so you know, Thomas, I just forwarded you that I just forwarded to Alicia the resolution that also has the plat that we're considering that for some reason didn't get into the packet. I'm not quite sure why, but the resolution that you did. So I just have forwarded that. So maybe we should be also looking at that. But you know, actually, Mr. Dubois and I spoke earlier today. He was mentioning, you know, that it is a lot of process. Once something's on the plat, we have to honor it. But we were going, I don't know that it happened because this all happened kind of this afternoon, but there is a way, if the HOA were to come in and remove all the driveway designations and just have it be common area for all the driveways, and then we could put a plat note in saying the driveways can be, you know, where approved by the Development Review Committee or something like that, then we wouldn't have to go through this each time somebody wants to move their driveway. But because it's platted and because that's where they want to put it, that's where it has to go. It also came to our attention this afternoon that the driveway has been built where they're hoping to put it. So it's but the town never approved that. The original plan showed the driveway being as it's shown on the plat. So in order to get a certificate of occupancy, they are going to need the driveway to be reflected correctly on the plat.
But so, Polly, if I'm understanding what you're saying, you want to change the proposal in front of us? So
No.
we sort of, okay.
What I'm suggesting is, I'm sorry, and I kind of have a bunch of different thoughts going on. But in the future, if the HOA comes in and wants to do that, that would be a way to alleviate us having to go through this every single time someone wants to change where they put their driveway. But for this one, because of the timing and because they've already put their driveway in, and I don't, you know, they're asking for forgiveness in a sense, but they, you know, they wanted to move the driveway 3 years ago. And in any case, we now have a situation. I just want to make clear the town never approved that the driveway could be where they put it. We would have caught that at the time of CO, but the timing now is important because they're not going to be able to get the CO unless the driveway matches where it's platted. So if we're okay with where it's where they want to move it, that will then match where they have drawn it. And one other thing I wanted to just also reiterate, and Thomas just said this as well, but the proposal, you know, the proposal of putting in, showing where the road exists on lot 6, that was our recommendation. And we appreciate all the efforts the owners made to try to work with the owners of that lot. We did not have any input in terms of how this was drawn or splitting the lot. I guess what I was always envisioning was, in any case, it doesn't matter, but I just want to make clear, we had no input other than to say that we wanted to see where the actual road is depicted and where the easement is depicted on the lot so that it reflected what is on the ground. But we had no input in turn, and we do not, believe that the owner of lot 6 should be giving any of their land to anyone else, that type of thing. So I just want to make that extremely clear. That was not our intent. That's not before the planning commission tonight. It came up and ended up in the staff report more just to give history and so that you could understand that the applicant did follow the recommendation from the planning commission back in November of 2021, where we said this is problematic because you have a road that's across the street that's not depicted at all in the plat. So we want to, we appreciate the efforts that the applicant made to try to address that, but because he didn't hear back from the engineer for the owner, it never moved forward at all.
Polly, you confused me. It's Peter again. What's the easement that you're talking about?
There is an easement that where that reflection lane,
Yeah.
there's actually, I don't know that depicts the actual easement or not. I don't have the ability to evaluate that, but there is an easement on lot 5 and lot 6 for reflection lane that connects to another subdivision. So there is, in fact, if you look at Google Maps, you will see there is, in fact, a road there, right? That goes then through the golf course and then over to what's called Plat 8A. And the problem is that when you look at, do you have just the map, Thomas, of the plat of just Plat 8? You'll see that you wouldn't know that there was a road there. It's not depicted at all. It just looks like it's a lot.
Yeah, my question is, where is lot 6 on this map? Is that reflection lane?
Well, that's the problem. And we had no input on this at all. And I appreciate the efforts that the applicant made, but we had this didn't come from us. It looks like they just removed lot 6, which that's not their property to remove. They needed to get, permission and input from the property owner on lot 6 if they were going to change it in that way. What they could have done was shown, and Thomas, are you able to open up just the existing plat that's being amended?
Yes, give me 1 second.
So while he's doing that,
Hey, Katie, someone's at the door. Katie.
okay. Sorry for
This is so you can see, this is the recorder's website. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
This is the recorder's website. This is the plat that we are looking at, and you can see this is R3 right here. This is Reflection Lane. This is lot 6 that was under discussion. That was the concern early on, back in 21, why the engineer thought that we should try to look at an amendment to the subdivision. Could it include that? Again, to Polly's point, the owner's not interested in doing that. And so that is not a part of this application, but just in terms of context, that is where it is.
Right, and if you were to look at the existing plat, the road is not depicted in any way. It's just, it just looks like any other lot. But there is an easement permitting that road.
Like you could see along Reflection Ridge, there's right of way on either side, the black lines. That's not the case here, although it does kind of, looks like it starts here, but yeah.
Well, that's because that is platted on 8A.
Oh,
But
okay.
where from the other lot over to here, it is, the recorder's office puts in, I don't know how they determine what to put in, but they probably had to show access somehow. I don't know if that follows the easement area or not, or just where the road is built. I don't know. But the fact is that there is an easement. But if you click on, that Hideout 8, you will not see any road in it. It just looks like a lot. So that was what our concern was back in November of 21. That's what the applicant tried to help correct as part of his. He did not get a response despite his attempts to reach out to their engineer. And so he's just going forward now with a plat amendment just to change the location of his driveway. And if you pull up that resolution that I just sent back to you, whether that be Thomas or Alicia, we can show the what's being proposed here.
Maybe just the.
But sorry, how does that impact what's before us today? I'm sort of feel like we're
I just wanted to, so there was, I think we were just trying to put it in context of this is what happened in 2021. This was the applicant's response. And if you scroll down on that resolution all the way to the next page, you should see the map is what they're proposing. And I'm not quite sure how we missed getting this into the packet. It should have been in the packet, but I didn't see it when I just opened the packet. So if you click on this, you can just see that all they're doing is just moving that driveway over.
okay.
So that's that's all that's happening here. I guess
Got
the
it.
stuff
Yeah.
is a little bit.
But Polly, your point is that anybody who has these R lots, or it's R 4, 5, 6, they are likely to come before us for the same changes.
They may. I don't
They may,
suggest.
but
Yeah, I don't suggest you hold this one up because of that, because
right.
they've built this and they're not going to be able to get a CO until this is corrected. So I'd suggest, and they have you have an application before you and they've done the work, so let's do it. But I would, ask the HOA to consider if the HOA comes in and gets a vote of over 2/3 to do this, they could just remove all the limited common driveways and put a note to indicate how what the requirements are for driveways, and then the owners can put them wherever they want.
Got it. Okay.
And that will also address this, but this one will be okay because it's going to be in the right spot.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense.
And if I may, as an applicant, am I allowed to talk?
Yeah, Thomas, are you done? Do you want to hear are you ready to hear from the applicant or Tony?
I
Well,
did.
Ask if any other board members, commission members have any more questions for either Polly or Thomas. And then open it up for public comment. Seeing that there are no questions, we'll open it up for public comment. Just state your name and address for the record, please. Chase, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, this is Chase Winder. And I'm still memorizing my address. It's 10652 North Reflection Ridge. So thank everyone for considering this application. I appreciate that background and context. We have obviously been building this home and are excited to move in with our newborn twins and happy family. And our biggest concern really was around safety, right? Like we did not want the driveway closer to that intersection. So as we're backing our car in and out of the house, we wanted to have a little bit more right away, a little bit more leeway. So that's obviously one of the goals and intentions, is just to make it safer for everyone, be a little bit offset from that road. Obviously, there is a plat issue with that road that can be addressed at a later time with the Mustang developer and owner. But we're just asking and requesting that this be approved today, so that we can obviously get our CO. And the other thing is just more common sense, right? Like the way that it's platted is the driveway's in the middle of the home. You know, not many homes as you drive around the country have a garage smack dead in the middle of the home, and you kind of build a house around it. Usually it's on a left side, right side, or in the back. So just also as a form process point, just making sure it's a little more conforming to the DRC and the design guidelines of the HOA. And, you know, we have had DRC approval for this property, and the plans that we have submitted have passed DRC approval, pending obviously this plat amendment. So thank you for your consideration of this, and I appreciate it.
Can I make a motion that we approve this plat amendment?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Is there anybody else that has a public comment in regard to this issue? Okay, there being none, we will close the public comment portion of this. Now, Polly, a question for you. Are we voting on approving the resolution or just a yay or nay for the town council?
I like doing it based on, what do you think, Thomas? I don't know how many. I think the resolution will, you know, it just kind of gives the history. It makes it clear it's just about the driveway. I think the resolution is focused just on the driveway.
Yeah, it's just
Want to
focused on.
just scroll it down, and then if you all are comfortable with it.
It's got some background information in there, but before we do that, I would like to, if I could share my screen. Community Preservation Association asked for 3 additional conditions. Maybe I could share them with the Planning Commission. Just real quickly for you all. So these would be the conditions that we would recommend that you attach to this. Should you wish to send a favorable recommendation to council, just that any approval by the town must be reviewed and approved by the HOA Design Review Committee. That sounds like that's already taken place, just confirmation of that. The HOA will have to sign off on the plat as well. Slope of the driveway cannot exceed 10% per town code. The applicant must confirm that no utilities exist under the proposed location for the driveway. The width of the new driveway easement does not exceed the width of the current one, which is 20 feet. The former platted drive easement is vacated and cannot be used for future driveway expansion, and no other changes are approved as part of this plat amendment, including movement, subdivision, or increase in size of this pad or others in the area. And number 4, number 5, and number 6 were requested by Community Preservation Association, and we concur with those.
Thomas, we couldn't see your screen.
So I'm sorry?
We couldn't see your screen.
You don't see it right now?
Uh-uh.
What do you
I
see?
see it. I see it. I see it. Yes.
And I see it too.
Yeah.
okay, I'm doing something wrong. Yeah, news
Well, I think
error.
Thomas read out the point, all the things that were pertinent to it,
They
so.
they were up on the screen before also. When Thomas was going through his paperwork.
On yours, but not this one.
No, it was up on this one also earlier.
Oh, it was?
Yes.
Okay.
So those were the conditions, and again, if we wanted to walk through the resolution, we could do that, but it really simply codifies what we just outlined. With the exception of those final three conditions, we would add those to that resolution in the conditions.
Do you want to pull up the resolution again, Alicia, just so that, or Thomas, just so that they can see it?
Alicia, do you have that one?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Sorry, it's a little difficult working on 3 screens, so. I'll see that.
We do.
Maybe just scroll down.
Down to maybe findings of fact. So this outlines the location where the project is situated, the prior subdivision recordation, the MDA agreement with the developer from 2010, et cetera. It just gives some background information. The conclusions of law, if you scroll down a little bit further, just outline that this is in accordance with our local codes as well as state code. And then we get to the conditions of approval that are pretty typical for a plat amendment. The timeline that they have to record, if you can scroll down a little bit further, Alicia. We've incorporated some of the top 3 conditions, but there would be, scroll down, Alicia. There would be a 9, 10, and 11 added to there, which would be those final 3 conditions of approval. And that is it.
So Polly, are we going to vote on the resolution or just a positive or negative recommendation to the?
I'd recommend that you consider approving the resolution with the addition of the 3 additional conditions of approval.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution with the 3 additional conditions.
Does anybody second that?
Sure, I'll second that.
Thank you, Glynis. Okay, we'll take a vote. Joel?
Yes.
Glynis?
Yes.
Donna?
yes,
Peter?
Yes,
And Tony's a yes. Therefore, we'll approve the the resolution with the aforementioned recommendations. On to item number 2 for public hearing. Discussion and possible recommendation to the Hideout Town Council for amendments to Hideout Municipal Code, Chapter 10.08, including but not limited to placement of hot tubs as in 10.08.08.15, which basically means hot tubs on the front porch.
That is correct. So this was a part of the package of zoning ordinance recommendations that were made back in February and favorably recommended by the Planning Commission and subsequently adopted by the council. What this does is make a correction, a recommended correction with regard to the location of hot tubs. Initially, when the language went in, it noted that hot tubs must be located in the rear yards. They could not be located in the front yards. However, there are a number of units within the town of Hideout, I think probably Deer Waters, parts of Lakeview, maybe, there may be some in Deer Springs, I'm not sure. But certainly Deer Waters and Lakeview, where certain house designs are such that the hot tub could be located on the front balcony. So given that those already exist and that some are proposed, it was recommended that we make a change to clarify the language so that everybody fully understood that those would be allowed, but you still can't locate a hot tub in a front yard. It has to be located on a balcony or patio deck integrated into the house. And so this language that you see before you in red is additional, and then you can see the strike through where we try to clarify this so that those do not become non-conforming hot tubs in the front yards. They're simply located on the upper decks on the front facade of a house. Again, not in the front yard, not on a front porch, not on a patio.
Thomas, can I ask a question? How does this? Sorry.
Thomas, when you say could be, that doesn't mean they are only limited to the front deck.
That's correct. They're not required to locate on the front deck. In fact, some people, we were working with a couple of property owners last week who have the ability to put a hot tub on their front balcony, but they didn't want to use all of the space on the front balcony. And I don't think they were actually that comfortable having it in the front along the right of way. So they're trying to fit it in their backyard. They're not required to put it on the front, but so since some of the houses are designed where they can put it on the front balcony, this would allow for that. But some people, despite having that opportunity, are trying to locate in their rear yards.
How does
Well,
this?
I have a question for you. When it comes down to a vote on this, if it gets a negative recommendation to the town council, could we grandfather in the existing hot tubs on the porch
Yeah, the ones
They're
that
actually
are,
grandfathered right now. They would be
as of
grandfathered.
right now?
as long as they were legally put in. So if they were, if they followed all the current codes, they would be allowed to stay. Yeah.
And Polly, if I understand that correctly, if they had a hot tub, let's say this did not pass, for example, or received a negative recommendation at this point, if somebody had a hot tub on the front porch, they're grandfathered in. If their hot tub mechanically goes sideways over in 5 years, they would be allowed to replace it in kind. Is that right?
Yeah, I would have to look at our non-conforming.
Okay.
It depends. Probably the use would be allowed to, it would be a non-conforming use and they would be allowed to continue the use.
Okay.
I have a question for you, Thomas. How does this comport with the DRC regulations which prohibit front yard, front deck hot tubs?
So this would be the town ordinance. The HOA can have more restrictive standards, more restrictive covenants. And so this would be kind of, think of this as the floor. This would set the standards for the town, but if is that the master HOA does not allow them in the front yard? If that's the case,
Yeah, but specifically the DRC doesn't. Yes.
then they can have more restrictive standards than we do. So they would,
Got it.
those areas would not be allowed to have the hot tub on a front deck.
Got it. Thank you.
Do we need to say anything about, the structure being adequate to hold the hot tub? Or no, that's not us. They should do that automatically.
I think that's probably done at the building department review, building inspection review. It's something I always think about as well. The weight of water is incredible, right? But I think that would be at the building department. Polly, would you concur?
Yes.
So that's not under our purview. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
And we also did note in here, if you look at the second bullet point, it's just it's worth noting that we noted early on that the hot tubs had to meet building setbacks as required in the applicable zoning district, because many jurisdictions think of hot tubs kind of as a structure, if you will, attached to the ground, etc. We decided to go with a 5-foot setback from all side and rear yards because many of the properties actually build out their building footprint to the rear setback line. So then nobody would be allowed to have a hot tub. So we just noted that it's 5 feet. You have to be 5 feet off the property lines, the sides and the rear. Those were the only two changes, yeah.
Are there any other questions from any of the commissioners? Chase, just for the record, you're allowed to participate now. There being none, we will open it up for a public hearing at this time. Okay, there being no public comment, we will close the public hearing portion of that. And would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve this amendment to the zoning change regarding hot tubs.
And I'll second it.
So everybody's comfortable, I'm sorry. Gotta go about it.
No, does anybody have anything else they would like to add?
So what this is saying is that we are comfortable with hot tubs being on the front of houses. Everybody's comfortable, well, some commissioners are comfortable with that. I'm not. If you drive down Bellevue Way and you see all the hot tubs in the front, I feel like that's the last thing I want in my community is a bunch of hot tubs. And I'll say in the front yards, front patios, front whatever, they're there. One of them has lattice in front of it, which I'd rather not even have a lattice. It makes it look junky, I'll say. Cheesy, thank you.
Hold on, I thought this already was approved by the town board and this is just an amendment to it.
To be clear, what was approved was language that did not allow hot tubs in the front yard. So this is
Oh, okay, sorry, got it.
allowed. If you're not comfortable with hot tubs,
Are you withdrawing what you said then, Ms. Peter?
No, I'm not.
yeah, I just want to make this clear. So the language that was in the ordinance did not allow for hot tubs anywhere in the front, upper deck, front yards, anything. This language is more lenient, and it does. If you're uncomfortable with hot tubs in the front, then this may not be language that you support, but this is different than what was originally proposed. Okay.
Donna, does that change your second?
No, I understand that many of these designs are, I mean, they're designed, they can have a hot tub in the front deck. On the front of their house that is located on a second story deck or balcony. I'm totally fine with that. We live in a mountain town, mountain area. We're looking at the mountains. I think people, I think that's totally fine. We lived at Silver Star. We had a hot tub on our front balcony. Overlooking, you could see the golf course. So, I think you're in a mountain town, and I think it's totally appropriate. And I don't think it's gonna look junky.
But to Joel's point, sorry, Peter, Joel's point, I know the lattice and I know what you're talking about, and I do agree with you that it looks crappy. And that might be something that we want to modify, but it doesn't change my view that I'm not bothered by the hot tubs in the front there. But the lattice there does look kind of crappy.
I'm a little confused. It says that they would be allowed in the front yard. I'm not okay with it in the front yard. I'm okay with it on the front deck, maybe an upper deck. But not a lower deck or a front yard. Cause I think it's it's hidden enough up above, I think, and I'll use an example in phase 3 of Shoreline. There's 2 homes that are like right up against the stone wall. There's no way they're gonna be able to fit a hot tub back there. The only place they could put a hot tub would be on the deck, the upper deck.
Yeah.
But
Well, it
It-
says that no hot tubs, swim
Right, it
spas,
says-
or swimming pools are allowed in the front yard. Or
Yard.
Oh,
That's clear to me.
That's clear. Hey, Joel, Peter, I'm gonna ask you a question. When you,
Yeah.
I don't have the road, like you're driving through shoreline, right? And the upper shoreline, those are at the rear of the house and there are all those hot tubs. You find that to look different than on Bellevue where they're on the front decks?
Well, one big difference is they are up, if it's where I think you're talking, Peter, it's way up on the hill. So it's not right on the roadway. Is that where you're talking?
Yeah, I mean, they are higher up. I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Those already in your line of sight, Peter, as you're driving.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
personally, I
Fair,
just-
fair point.
yeah.
Fair point. I hear you.
Yeah, it's a difference of opinion and, you know, I certainly respect your guys' opinion and personally, I think it looks junky driving through a neighborhood to see a bunch of hot tubs, let alone the people going in the hot tubs, but that's a different story. Just the hot tubs, you know, within the line of sight, just a difference of opinion and I couldn't vote for it. So, you know, I would be, you know, certainly understanding those who have hot tubs in place of grandfathering them in, but, I'm not in favor of anybody putting a hot tub, front yard, front balcony, front patio, front deck. I don't like the look. But we do have a motion in a second, so.
Yes, so then we'll take a vote. Joel,
No,
Glynis,
yes,
Tony's no. Donna,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Chase,
Yes.
okay, therefore, by 3-2, they get a positive recommendation to go to the town council with this. Last item, I'm sorry, that closes the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. We have one other item. That will be a closed session and a discussion of future planning needs and ideas.
Well, it's not, just to be clear, it's not a closed session. It's just not a public hearing. So the meeting will be open for the public to hear, but there's no need, you don't have to have public input because it's not a public hearing.
Thank you, Paula.
Thanks.
All right, so what I thought we would do, since we had a relatively short planning commission meeting, is just maybe spend a few minutes discussing some of the your thinking in terms of proactive planning, things that you might want to see us address over the course of the next 6 months or over the course of the next year, issues that are maybe kind of front and center. I've got just a couple of slides that I can walk through that might help stimulate some thinking, but if you guys have anything planning related that you want to address that you think is important, this I thought would be an opportunity for us to kind of get it on the table, if you will. Can you guys see that?
yeah,
Yep. So real quickly, I'll walk through some things and then I can walk back. I think I've got a total of 5 slides, so it's pretty, yep.
I just see orange. Hold on. Oh, hold on. I have to make it smaller on my
Zoom
screen.
out to full screen and you'll see the whole thing.
Okay, hold on. Let me figure this out, how to make it full screen. They downloaded the new, Teams gave me a new update. Now I got to figure out how to use this one.
If you hover over the top of your screen, a bar will likely appear. You can
Yep.
hit the down arrow there and
Yep,
hit.
I'm actually moving you to the side so I can, okay, I got it now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So again, this is just to kind of prompt some thinking thoughts, things like that. So our general plan was adopted in 2019. So, just some of my initial thinking, would it be helpful to have an executive summary for the general plan? It's a pretty long document. Do we want to review it and consider any updates? It's pretty typical to kind of take a take another look at your general plan, if not on a yearly or a biannual basis, to really look at it every 5 years and say, yep, it's generally in line, or hey, we need a few tweaks here and there. Is that something we might want to consider? And or are there other planning efforts that we think we should be moving forward with? That could be post a Parks Open Space Trail Plan update. It might be, do we need, maybe collaboration between the Planning Commission and Town Council on a new community-wide survey? Are there pieces of information, pieces of input we want from the community? So just kind of thinking about general planning issues that you all might want to address. Any of this ring a bell? Any of this?
I mean, if you say that was done in 2019 and here we are 5 years later, it seems like we should have an executive summary and review it at some point. I think that makes sense.
I think it would be very informative to all the planning commission members.
Especially since some of them were new and
Yeah.
come on board since after that's been done.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. Are there any other planning issues that you have concerns with, and probably think of these from your just residential perspective, what you see in the neighborhood, transportation planning issue? Is there anything that we should be targeting?
I have one, just something I've noticed in a lot of what we've looked at is when somebody has a huge parcel, huge. They have a 15-acre parcel. That means they can, right now, if it's mountain residential, they can put one house for every acre.
Right.
And they've come into us with a plan for 1 acre where they want to put, like, I'm gonna be just off the charts here, just to prove a point. They want to put 200 homes in that 1 acre. I mean, like I said, I'm way off the charts, but if they want to come in and do something like that, I think we need to have something that says for every one that they take from that 15 acres. So say they want to put 20 on that 1 acre, that means in this 20-acre parcel, they're now not allowed to build any of those 20, any of the other homes, because they put them all in that 1 acre. So I think we need to have something, because we keep having all these, they want like a lot of density. And then the whole thing becomes a lot, they want the whole thing to then have a lot of density. Do you know what I'm?
But is that a general plan issue, or that's per approval of any development that comes before us?
Well, is that anything like a TDR?
So a TDR, just for everybody's clarification, is a transfer of development rights. So if somebody wanted to upzone a piece of property, if we had a TDR program in our ordinance, they could potentially buy density from a sending zone, an area that we want to keep more rural, pastoral, native vegetation. They could buy density to upzone theirs and make a receiving zone. It would have to be dedicated on our zoning map. These are the areas where we want to see density. These are the areas where we want to see density removed from. We don't have a TDR, but what you're saying, I think, Glynis, is similar to a TDR. We do have in our ordinance a cluster subdivision. So for example, if somebody wanted to come in, let's use your 20-acre example, and they had 1 acre lots, their zoned mountain residential. We can allow for them to cluster those homes and preserve the open space on the other. Say they want to cluster 20 homes onto 4 acres, we can allow for that to happen and then preserve the other 16 as untouched, wildlife corridors, natural sage, all the vegetation could remain. We could do that now. With regard to density, or I should say upzone requests, where they're coming in with mountain residential, use the 20 acres, and they want to upzone a part of it, you can always, through a master development agreement, disallow development on, say, the backside. If they came in for the front 4 acres, you can disallow development on the back 16 acres. We do have that right. I think where you might be going is maybe we want more clarification in the general plan, because the general plan is where we really should look as we start to think about upzoning properties, et cetera. So maybe it's something more definitive in there, and or a recommendation that upzonings, higher density on some properties should really compel an applicant to seek a cluster subdivision that we do have in our ordinance. So maybe it's clarification. So I think that might be a smart way to look at it, because I do think the general plan could do a better job of giving guidance for how we handle some planning decisions. So I think that might be where it lives. Does that make sense?
Yeah, now, would a developer look at our general plan?
Yes and
Like-
no, but what we would do is if the language was in there and an application came in, we would cut and paste that language essentially into a staff report that says, planning commissioners, as you look at this, your general plan recommends that you address this upzone, this increase in density application in such a way. So we would carry that language forward.
Okay.
And and it could, as we walk through it, I mean, it's an interesting thought exercise. Does it live in the general plan early on, and then does it maybe become codified in the code, in the ordinance later on? Maybe that is something that happens. It could live in both places.
That's my pet peeve.
Okay. Helpful.
Yeah, is there something we can create? I don't know if that's maybe part of the executive summary or it is an executive summary where it makes it easier for developers to navigate through the process with us. So we're more developer friendly, and maybe that's not just a planning commission, but an overall town initiative. I don't know, it's just a thought.
I think I will tell you this. I think that maybe it's something in maybe some wording that we could put in our applications or something like that. But I will say that the town of Hideout is pretty developer friendly, actually. You guys
Okay.
are pretty willing to work with developers. We've had a fair amount of upzoning in the community. You guys have been pretty good to work with, but maybe it's something, I don't know, maybe it's almost like we could almost create maybe a how to navigate the system so that everything is really laid out easily for them. They know who to go to for what. Maybe something like that. That would make pretty good sense. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to create extra work for anybody. I'm an outsider looking in because I'm not a developer. So just thinking, is there something? And I'm sure our town staff are extremely developer and pretty much everything friendly. I'm looking at their smiling faces. So I'm just thinking, again, outsider looking in, is there something we can do, where it's not a lot of extra work for us, but, I just look at the challenges that Bloom may have had with us. And it was, planning commission, council, planning commission, and it seemed a little rough around the edges, and maybe that was just me being a new member of the planning commission.
Well, the Bloom project though, Joel, just for clarification. They kept moving the ball every time they came forward with something. So it wasn't just that.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, and the general process of someone coming to us and us making a recommendation or not to the town council, that's never going to change.
Right.
Process will remain the same. You're right.
Right.
I think the community, with the general plan that you have and the ordinance updates that have been done over the past few years, if a developer wants to come in and build by right, just build according to the plan, according to the code, what has been laid out by the planning commission and the council, they can come in and do that. And it's a very, very developer friendly process. It's very easy. If they are asking for upzonings or additional densities, the reduction in open space requirements. They don't want to provide a park or whatever is required as part of your ordinances, which are now pretty darn clear. That request can always feel a little bit challenging to the developer, and it might look like they're facing a bit of an uphill battle, but that's a big request when they come in and ask for things like that, right? And so if they just stick to the ordinance, meet the requirements, most of the development in the town is by right. You can come in and do it, right? It's a pretty simple stamp. But I do like the idea of thinking about almost a little brochure or handbook, something that maybe could attach to an application, or even, ensuring that they have, an ombudsman, an ombudswoman, somebody to kind of walk them through the process. But I think we kind of do that now, but I could think about that in a little bit more detail. I like that. Are there
Thomas,
any,
has there been any in the former Benlock Farms, application? I know they had some issues with Wasatch County, and that's why they pulled it. I don't know if do you know if they've been resolved?
I reached out to them a few weeks back and asked them if there had been any changes, and they said no, they were still now working through Wasatch County. So I don't know if they're now comfortable with Wasatch County full-time, or if they might think about coming back with a petition to annex. But I suspect they might be on a fairly decent path with Wasatch County. Otherwise, I think we would have heard from them. So they're probably going to stick in Wasatch, I'm guessing. Here, let me go down here, though. You did bring up a good discussion point. So yeah, that was the annexation. I was going to give you that update. Ty Frisbee is the property owner near Bellevue and Shoreline, up where the town center property is as you enter into Ross Creek. He's got a couple of acres up there. He came in, gosh, it must have been, I don't know, maybe 8, 10, 12 months ago. He had a concept plan. It wasn't terribly well received by the planning commission. It kind of had an industrial character about it, an industrial feel. Some of the uses with regard to maybe boat storage, et cetera, were not necessarily received well by the planning commission. It was just a concept plan submittal. He and I have been in contact over the past number of months. He knows that his property is right adjacent to the proposed town center, 10 acres right there in that area. So he's kind of been holding back a resubmittal to see exactly what the town is going to do with regard to those 10 acres. We have met with him on a couple of occasions to let him know he does need to look at revising his project. It was pretty dense, and again, the character wasn't something that the planning commission was head over heels about. And so it looks like he'll probably make some revisions, and we might see his project resubmitted in the near future. The town center property, let me back up while we're down here. We've got the town center property here. So yeah, just for clarification, if you could see my screen, can I draw on here? Let's see, hang on. Yeah, I can. So Ty
Are
Frisbee,
we,
what's that?
oh, sorry, so I noticed at the top, the black arrow coming in. Would that be the first thing that would happen before
It's-
anything got developed? Or no?
No, I suspect this won't happen. This is only illustrating a possible UDOT connector road because it's something that UDOT has thought that might be appropriate in this area. I don't know that they will build it. They have right of way in here. I think they've reserved a little bit of right of way in here should they want to build it, but they wouldn't do that until there was a real demand for it. Traffic was an issue. The reason they would do this is because they like the T intersections here, not just, I'm sorry, a cross intersection, not just a T intersection. But this would be pretty costly. They say they might want to do it sometime, someday down the road, but with UDOT, you never really know when that is. This would not be a requirement to get the town center area underway because we do have this existing entrance right now. And just for clarification, that little box is where our public works facility is, which would of course have to be moved likely over to the 7 acres north of Claim, north of William Wolf's property, that property that kind of sits up on the hill on 248. But yeah, this would probably, I think this town center project would build out with just this entrance. That's down the road.
And clarification, with the current entrance, if they do build that, will that stay? The current entrance, if UDOT
Well,
does
that's
build,
a good question. I think that if UDOT did put the new entrance in, I suspect that this would be too close. The distance would
Yeah.
be close. They would want to eliminate existing.
so I'm wondering.
Yeah.
So who, it's nice and relatively flat there already, and it's actually pretty big. Like, is that still UDOT land then?
The
And
land
if we,
here.
the land where the road is right now, the entrance
right here.
right now. It would still remain UDOT land.
This is UDOT land, and then come into town land or private land. In this case, it is
Okay.
public land, town-owned land for the right of way and the property on either side. But up to this point, this is all UDOT. It's their right of way.
Mhm. If we're gonna have a commercial zoning area in there. We're really gonna need a lane to slow down. To make that turn, I mean. I don't know,
I've
I would,
brought that up before.
I would personally push for that other entrance, that just makes, like, to me, a lot more sense.
We could push for that. Just with UDOT, you never know their funding and you never know their timing. They can be
Right,
a bit ambiguous in terms of all of that.
yeah, but
We can
they're
push.
gonna waste their money if they put a turn lane in, then they're never gonna wanna build it.
That is
Like,
true.
you know,
They would benefit by making the decision up front, but sometimes UDOT does not do that.
right, logic doesn't necessarily.
Does not always prevail.
Wait.
Yeah. But yeah, this area here is Ty Frisbee's property, just so you guys, maybe just if you guys here don't remember or were not here, that is his 2 acres over here. So really what we do with our little 10-acre town center, not all 10 acres are usable. You can see here, a bit of this down here is a bit tight, but what we do here and what he does, I think there's some real opportunities for synergy, making sure we get the design and the uses right, making sure it's neighborhood oriented will be really important. I suspect we'll see something in from Ty in the near future. And I suspect we'll, maybe hopefully get out maybe an RFP for the town center property to really start to gauge what the interest in this area is.
And that could be started before that connector you said, correct?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys remember seeing some of.
No, I don't.
For some reason I'm stuck. Hang on. Is it still sharing?
No,
What do you see now?
just you, me, and the group,
I don't know what I did. Hang on.
just us.
I lost the
Just
entire-
just went away.
Okay. Now can you see it again?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, if you guys kind of remember, the idea for this was to really, think about some neighborhood commercial, kind of those meeting places, opportunities for, could there be, I don't know, a boutique hotel, maybe that would be something that would help charge this area in terms of getting enough visitors to justify doing commercial, because as you know, commercial is really tough to get until the rooftops are developed and we're still a growing city. And so we're trying to put the, the cart before the horse a little bit, but given that we do own the land, we have some real opportunities to partner with developers. And so to really see something develop here would be, could be a real benefit. Again, that right there is Ty's property. So seeing if there's any opportunity for synergy will be important down the road, I think.
My book club wants a restaurant there. That overlooked with a nice, a nice deck in the back that you could see the Jordanelle and the mountains.
Yeah, the views are extraordinary here. I mean, as you guys know well, but I mean, they just even from having the what are they, the town parties here, et cetera. But I mean, right in this area, let me see why is it not giving me my take. But like, yeah, even here, this red line, I'm down on the bottom left picture. This red line is coming in off of 248, and then you come around, right? But, just all of the deck space that you could have that I'm outlining, those are views straight out to the Jordanelle. So it's a pretty valuable property. It's got some real opportunity. So I think, working with a developer partnership opportunity, we could really make something nice happen there. So I think you'll see a little bit more on that over the next few months, working with the EDC, the Economic Development Committee, to try to get an RFP out, would be really nice. Clear that. So yeah, that's Ty's property. The Salzman property, that was originally the Boulders, then it was the Bloom. Now it looks like we may end up working with the Salzmans. We don't have an active application on that one, but we may in the near future. Significant opportunity there for economic, for a bit of an economic engine with sales tax revenue. You guys know we've got the temporary fire station. We're looking at potentially the permanent fire station 3 years down the road that would locate north of Claim, potentially north of Claim and north of William Wolf's property up on the hillside there. We've got 7 acres there. That would potentially be a place we could move the Public Works building to open up the town center site. So that and the fire station could go there. And we discussed Bloom. That was kind of my other. I don't know if you guys have any other questions with regard to project updates, or again, if there's still, hey, there's a planning issue that I would like to see addressed, but it's kind of wide open.
What about the brewery?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The brewery is, so Tim Schoen and his team, Rick Otto Architects, we've been working with them a little bit more in depth over the past month or so. They're planning to come back to the Planning Commission at next month's meeting, so you'll see their updated concept. They still do want to do the commercial right there, kind of along 248, and they're also looking at kind of winding a road up on the backside of the driveway that goes up to William Wolf's property, and maybe putting some single family up there. We've had some challenges with regard to UDOT and the emergency access requirements pursuant to the fire department. And so we're working through a few of those, but I think we're just about there. So you guys will see that updated plan in June's meeting. But that was moving quickly now.
That's the one where I wanted some open space behind it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So there was some discussion about, putting some houses up there, but I think that it's pretty steep out there. And the area behind Claim, so that project situates between Claim and, the William Wolf property on the hillside there. I think that it'll be important that we protect some of that open space. We also have a sensitive lands overlay in that area because of the slopes up there that will require some protections up there. And some of that might be, the slopes might cause some self-limiting issues for the developer just because fire may not be able to get up a single access road there. So that might keep some of that protected as development is pushed down.
Okay.
Trying to think if there's any other bigger commercial projects we've heard of. I don't think so. I think those are the big ones on our plate right now.
And there's nothing new on the annexation.
The
No.
annexation, the town center annexation, Nate Brockbanks.
Yeah,
We haven't heard anything yet. No. Still in the courts.
There was a vote months ago, a court vote on, I don't know which circuit court it was about it. I don't know how that ended up. It was a while ago, probably 6 months ago. Do you know, Polly?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
And, all right, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was with that annexation that was, attempted several years ago.
We haven't had, we argued, the argument was before the Supreme Court in March of 23,
Maybe
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking of.
and we still haven't heard the
Okay.
Supreme Court, Utah Supreme Court hasn't issued their opinion yet.
Okay. That's what I was thinking of. Thank you.
Sure.
We've heard bits and pieces with regard from people, no formal application, so I can't discuss specific locations, but from a couple of folks that have some interest in potentially annexing. So we might hear something over the next couple of months from them. Of course, if we do, it would come directly to you guys. So we'll see if they decide to pursue or not. But yeah, other than that, I think it really is the Tim Schoen property that you'll see next. And that will probably be our first real commercial development opportunity, which will be nice. Tony, we had a few discussions over the course of the past couple of weeks. Is there anything I missed? Trying to think. I think those are
No.
captured them.
Other than the other one that you just touched on is the possible annexation, but that's just still too far down the road to really go into.
Any update on transit and transportation? Having a stop here eventually on public transportation.
I know that Carol Hazelton on council is really our transit guru and our transit.
Okay.
I don't think that there's been any updates or any commitments with regard to that. I know she continues to meet with them and work with them, but I don't think they've committed to anything as of yet.
Okay.
And the more rooftops we get, the more, if you had if we do get a commercial development, sometimes those start to justify stops, right?
Mhm.
So we're probably getting closer to getting the infrastructure, again, residential and
Right.
commercial infrastructure in to justify it. Probably, we're just on the cusp. We're probably not quite there, but I know she works on it. If you get a chance, touch base with her. She'll definitely update you.
I'll see her at book club.
There you go. Ask her. She has a lot of info. She does. And if there's nothing else, that's all I've got. But along planning issue lines, if something comes up or you think of anything, don't hesitate to shoot me or Tony or anybody an email just to say, hey, I got to thinking about something. This is something I'd really like to kind of lean into over the course of the 2024 calendar year. We'll take it on.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks, all.
Thomas.
yeah, thank you.
Would anybody at this time like to make a motion?
I move that we adjourn.
A second.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take a vote on that. Joel,
Yes.
Glynis,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes,
Chase, Tony,
Chase.
yes.
Yes, sorry, mute. Yes.
Thank you. All right, this one, that'll officially close the May meeting for the planning commission for the town of Hideout. Thank you all. In the future, though, we'll hope to see some more bodies live and in person rather than on the screen.
I hope to be in there soon.
Thank you.
All
Have a
right.
good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Well,